I sometimes go to restaurants, and one thing that I really hate is when the staff purposely face me away from people so that I won't scare away the diners, which is just, but also sometimes I choose to do that too. I choose to sit somewhere where I'm not going to be stared at.
Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land on which we record this podcast, the Gadigal People of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to elders past and present. Today I am talking to appearance and disability activist, writer and speaker Carly Findlay. Carly also lives with ichthyosis, which she will tell you more about in this episode. I have known of and been mates with Carly for some time now. She is such an incredible, bright, colourful, beautiful human being, and also had a very large part to play in the start of my own advocacy journey. Carly, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'm so excited to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. One thing that I love to start my interviews off is by asking my guests what they're fixating on at the moment. So it could be a hobby, a thing, a food. What are you fixating on? Spill.
Well, I just got a pretty exciting partnership with Lego, as you know.
So
and,
cool.
I haven't built Lego for many years, and I had to build this thing. And then now that it's built, I wasn't very good to start with. My husband helped me. And now that it's built, I'm like, I want some more Lego to do. It was really exciting.
It's so therapeutic,
yes,
isn't it?
Right.
I've only just started getting into doing it again, and it's like, similar to you, I didn't do it for years, and then I started doing it because I got the same partnership, started getting Lego. It's like, oh yeah, I'll do this. It's meditative.
Yes.
It's so therapeutic.
And I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not worried about what's happening on social media. I'm not.
No think, just Lego.
Yeah, I do. I listen to a podcast or read a book or an audiobook when I'm doing it, but it's it's mostly Lego. And then you get something at the end of it that's like fully made.
What's your favourite set that you've done?
Well, I've only done one.
Oh, which one did you do?
I did the it's like a florist and a furniture shop.
Yeah, like the botanical set.
Yeah, it was a Unity Street. It's a kids one and has people. I think it's brand new this year.
Oh my God. Oh, that's so cool. It's so fun. Yeah, I've gotten so many sets now, and I'm like, I reckon that's definitely one of my fixations at the moment too.
It's really fun.
I'd love to talk about your journey of actually starting to share about having ichthyosis.
Yeah.
How you started, what made you want to start?
Yeah, I'd been blogging for many, many years, so since 2001. And I never wanted to put myself on the internet because I always knew then that people, I don't know whether I had any proof of it, to be honest, but I always assumed that people who look different will be, their photos will be misused and ridiculed on the internet. I kind of got that,
Well, the thing is, we've seen that happen a million times before.
We have, but back when I was already using the internet was when the internet first came out, like 1996, right? And so there was really no proof that had happened, but I just assumed that, oh my gosh, if strangers get a hold of this. So absolutely, we've seen it now, but I didn't know then. I just assumed it then that this would happen.
Yeah, right.
And so when I was, I used to chat to boys on ICQ, which was a program like MSN Messenger before that.
Oh, the MSN days.
Yep. It was before that on ICQ. There was a little flower and it would go, uh-oh, when someone sent you a message. And I would chat to boys on that, and I'd actually met a boyfriend who this was like back in 1999. Yeah, 1999 when I was 17. And I met this guy, and he was like the first person I showed myself to, because I thought, you didn't have to, you could choose whether you wanted to show someone your picture or not.
Yeah, of course.
And it took such a long time to get this photo on the internet. Like, you had to take a photo, print it out, scan it into your computer, and then upload it on dial-up speed.
Oh my God, a whole process.
Right. It's not like it is now. Anyway, and so, I really had to trust the person, and then I liked that I could make a decision about whether I wanted to disclose or not, because I get no choice but to disclose when I walk out the door. So the internet was this kind of barrier around that, you know? And so I showed him, and he ended up, we actually met, but he ended up catfishing me for 6 years.
Well, hang on, anyway, you can't just stop there. Tell me more.
I did write about it in my book. But so we met, and, you know, he told me things like his mother would – so after we met, he told me more things that added to the catfishing, so that his mother was dead and that he had a baby. And we would talk on the phone and maybe text message then, when text messages came in. And so we did that for 6 years after we met. And then one night I got a call from his now ex-girlfriend, and she said, why are you talking to my boyfriend? And I said, I didn't know you had a boyfriend.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and she said, yeah, I live with him. I'm like, oh. And then she's like, how do you know him? And I said, well, 6 years ago I met him on, you know, ICQ, and we met, and she had no idea who I was. And then I said, when his mother died, and she's like, well, no, wait, I live with his mum. And then,
oh my God.
And then I said, and he's got this baby who would be like 4 or 5 now. And she's like, oh, no. Anyway, so we worked together, I guess, to catch him out. She dumped him. We are now friends.
I love that. Women supporting women.
I know. Yeah, we've met a couple of times, and she came to my book launch when I went to Brisbane. He's from Brisbane. They're from Brisbane. Yeah. So yeah, I got catfished. And I think for me, like, to be so open to a stranger, you know, back then when I was really scared, you know, it took a long time for me to get trust to put that, you know, to put my photo online. And I probably wasn't doing it until
back out there again.
Until the MySpace days, which was in the mid 2000s. And I was like such a fangirl, still am such a fangirl, particularly of Darren Hayes. And I would chat to Darren on MySpace a bit. And, you know, I'd put the photos of me and him when we met on there. So I was disclosing photos then, but I still wasn't talking about my skin. Still wasn't, because I could make a choice not to, because I didn't have to. I didn't have to endure what I endured every time I walk out the door when I was on the internet. And so it wasn't until maybe 2009 that I started to write about my skin more. I was doing a university course, Master of Communication, and I had to build a portfolio of work, and I had to write about, you know, just more than writing about boys that catfish me, I guess. And so, yeah, I started writing about it then, and I just, it got really good response, and then that led to like media work. I submitted one of those blogs to a government website called Divine at the time. It was run by the Office of Disability in Victoria, and they published it, and I got a freelance writing gig with them, and then that led to work with Mamma Mia and Frankie Magazine, and so that's when it started. And I just did it because, you know, one, there was really nothing out there from people talking about ichthyosis, and two, if they were talking about it, they were not in control of their story. It was like really horrible, embarrassing bodies, medical incredible, really awful headlines, and there still are awful headlines, you know, like mermaid baby or snakeskin woman, or, you know, parents talking about their children in horrific ways. And so I wanted to change that, and I did.
Isn't that fascinating how intersectional that experience is?
Yeah.
Because that's why I started sharing my story too, because when I got my autism diagnosis and I Googled it, the only things I found were all of these articles from parents and from these so-called professionals and from people that pretended like they knew my mind and therefore had the right and the ability to take away my own autonomy and to speak about me for me. And the fact that that's intersectional is honest, like, first of all, bullshit. Second of all, devastating.
Yeah.
I'd love to know as well, obviously we are both disabled women.
Mm-hmm.
Your disability, some aspects of your disability are visible and people look at you and see something. Do you find that because of that, the more invisible aspects of your disability often go unknown or uncared for or unseen?
Absolutely. So if I'm on a train and I need a seat, I've had people go, well, prove me, show me your disability card. And I'm like, I don't have one. What do I do? Or they'll just assume I'm sunburnt, and then they'll kind of move on and go, oh, such a relief you're not sunburnt, as if like that's worse than this, where, this is a permanent thing that. So, yeah, there's that. Or they don't recognise that there's pain. I get a bit of like, oh, you've just got a skin condition. There are other people out there with real disabilities, more severe disabilities, which I get. Absolutely, there are people out there with more severe disabilities, but mine is no less real than someone else's. And also, one of the things that it took me a long time to process was because of the visibleness of the disability of the skin. I didn't come to terms, that's not the right word. I didn't think about my racial identity very much. So I'm not white. My mum is South African. She calls herself a coloured South African. She's a woman of colour. And my dad is a white man from England. And they came here because they couldn't get married in South Africa because of the racial segregation laws. And so it took me a long time to talk about that, to think about that, because I didn't have the space because I wasn't quite there yet with my disability, And so I remember very many years ago when Ramp Up was still a website on the ABC. So Ramp Up was edited by Stella Young. Stella actually wanted me to write about it, and I was too scared. I wasn't ready yet. And I think that's the regret that I had, not doing that for Stella before she died. I have written about it since. I've written about it, for a performance piece. I've written about it in my book and for growing up African in Australia as well. But, yeah, it was and so my face is the reddest part of my body. My arms are not that red. I mean, they're still affected by ichthyosis, but they're not always that red. And I remember when I was a kid, people would ask me, oh, if you were normal, in quotes, would you be white or would you be black?
That word.
Oh, and then they'd like all agree. Oh, yes, you'll be white. You'll be white. Because that's the preferred. That's the preferred color. And it was such a weird thing. It took me a very long time to think about that and to admit to that. And also, one of the things I find really hard is not people not visibly or instantly knowing that I'm not white. So I might call out racism, or I might say something from the perspective of a person of colour in there. And they're like, oh, you would say that you're a white person. I'm like, no, I'm not. Yeah.
Wow, that's such a fascinating point. Have you faced racism and discrimination because of that? And I guess especially I feel like your experience would be so different than someone who perhaps doesn't have your skin condition.
Yeah, a little bit. I have been – so there's two things. I've faced ableism within the African community, I guess. So when, I really love eating at African restaurants, and I've gone in and I've had people stare at me and just, snigger and laugh, and I kind of think, but I'm one of you. I'm, but you can't tell that.
Yeah, right.
But I guess in the broader sense, I absolutely, I get a lot of trolling online. I get a lot of lateral violence from other disabled people, and it absolutely is racist and ableist. In 2020, I was accused of faking my race and my disability.
What the hell?
From other disabled people.
Oh, my God. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and my mum was really angry at that as well,
Understandably.
So, it's just such a weird thing. But then I feel more a part of the people of colour community the more I talk about it as well. And I think the more people validate me as a person of colour, the more I will accept that, if that makes sense. That's not to say that I'm like being a faker. I'm not. But it's just something it took a long time to think about, because I had to prioritise being in pain and being bullied because of my skin. And so that took up more emotional time than I had to give to race stuff.
Yeah, 100%. You've detailed both in this podcast and in your book and very publicly online about racism and ableism and just overall discrimination that you face on a daily basis just for existing. How do you look after your mental health with that?
Yeah. Look, I feel like, and you would probably feel this as well, if you're discriminated against and you're in the public eye and you write about it on social media, then it probably makes the media. And then you have people going, well, that didn't happen. You're overreacting. You're just being ridiculous. Of course they're going to do that. They've never seen anyone like you before. All of that, you know.
Uh-huh.
And then so you have to deal with this discrimination hangover, and then you have to deal with the admin of like going in to talk to the organisations who discriminated against you, knowing that nothing will change because it's just a tick box exercise. You get it, right?
Oh my God, you're literally just their activism tick box.
Yes. And so that is exhausting, and you've got people checking in on you and you don't have time for, you know, to respond because you're dealing with the people online who are telling you that never happened, or you're dealing with not having a response from the taxi company or the venue or whatever. I remember a few years ago I went to a concert at the ESPY. I'm going to name it the ESPY in St Kilda, and Killing Heidi were playing. I've been a fan of Killing Heidi for years, you know, since I was a teen. And they're from near where I grew up as well. And my friend was minding our spot while I went to get us a drink. And so I came back and she said, I got you a seat. And so I got a seat, took the seat. It was like a bar stool. And there were some people, there was no one sitting on it at the time. And then there were some people in front and they just yelled at me like, why are you taking our seat? And I said, well, I need it. I'm sore. And they said, you're not old enough to be sore. You don't look old enough to be sore. And I thought that they were going to hit us. Like we were so scared. And, you know, they were really confronting and argumentative, and we ended up leaving that spot and we told the security, who didn't know what to do. They don't recognise ableism. And I tweeted about it afterwards, and it was weird because it made the media, because I tweeted about it. The ESPY never responded online. They never responded. Killing Heidi responded, and then they gave us tickets to their show the next week, which was lovely. And then about 6 months later, I had to speak at the ESPY, and I said, this is really awkward because I was discriminated against here by patrons, and your staff didn't know what to do. And literally the only discussion I had with the ESPY was at that public event. And it was such a weird thing to have to do, you know, because then I had to pick it up 6 months later. But also something that has just clicked in my mind then is when at the end of that night, after that event where we were discriminated against, where I was discriminated against, so my friend also had a facial difference as well. So we were both really scared for our safety. And we were walking down the street to get public transport home, and there was this woman that came out. And so it's funny, you probably get this as well. You experience discrimination, and then you experience the polar opposite of absolute fangirling, right? And so this woman, I was seriously really annoyed about what had happened. And there was a drunk woman and her friend that came out, and she's like, oh my God, are you Carly Findlay? You are a social justice angel. And my friend keeps on reminding me about this every time we see each other. She's like, remember that time? And she just couldn't stop screaming, and she took this photo of me and of her, you know, as a selfie. But I almost didn't have time to appreciate that because I was thinking about what happened with that.
Of course.
With that,
you know what I find fascinating about that sort of stuff? The amount of times where I'll be discriminated against by someone, and it'll usually be, you're not disabled enough to access this space, or you're not blank.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'll get discriminated against. They'll, you know, say really shit things. And then in that same situation, someone else will come over and be like, oh my God, can I get a photo with you? This person who was discriminating against me will be watching the situation going, oh, hang on. Realize, oh shit, this is a person of influence, and go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, come on. And I'm like, girl, you can't change up that quick.
Yeah. It was funny. Someone said to me last night, oh, you know, they were genuine, and they said, your work's really helped me talk about my special needs son in a different way. And I'm like, your disabled son.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think, you know, sometimes do they really get it? Do they really get what we do? It is,
and you know what? That's the whole purpose of doing what we do.
Exactly,
like the fact that those conversations are happening, and the fact that hopefully those conversations are happening less and less, means that you're doing your job well.
Yeah. I think in terms of mental health though, for me it's been very hard. I'm not very good at switching off. when I was building the Lego, I remember Adam, my husband, was like, just concentrate. I'm like, I can't. I'm thinking about an argument we had on the internet.
Oh,
But,
okay.
you know,
I'll just concentrate. I'll just switch off the thoughts. That's fine.
yeah. I'm just, and so I find that really hard. I have blockers on my phone so I can't see the trolling.
Right.
That's good, or else I'll just look. I don't want to look.
Yeah.
My friends know not to send it to me. I have been seeing a psychologist lately, which is good.
Brilliant. Therapy is so important.
Yeah, it took a long time. Also, it took a long time to find anyone that understands the internet.
Yes, 100%. And the other thing as well is so many people feel like a therapist is like a one-size-fits-all sort of situation, as in like, oh, if you try one therapist, it doesn't work, therapy doesn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
Therapy is like trying on a pair of shoes. If one doesn't fit, go find another pair.
Yeah. And I had you did it as well. I did the Disability Royal Commission. And so we got a psychologist through that as well. So that's been useful. But the trolling had heightened since then. And also, when I talk about trolling, I get two types. I get the type that, oh, you're so ugly and disgusting, or I get the type from other people who I think might be jealous, who I think might be angry.
Yeah.
Within the disability community. Someone asked me what my trolls are. They assume that my trolls are very much like Clem Ford's trolls, men. And I'm like, no, they're disabled white women.
Yeah, which is so fascinating. I feel like, and again, it goes back to that internalized ableism. And I have experienced the same thing, particularly the more that my career has grown and the more that my career has become mainstream. I find more and more of those people that send me really nasty messages and I have like Reddit threads now about it and stuff, where the whole thing is just like, Chloe's sold out. She's not really disabled. She's using her disability as a token. If she was really disabled, she wouldn't be able to do this stuff. And it's a lot of the time either parents of disabled people or most disappointingly, it is other disabled people.
Yeah.
And it is that internalized ableism, which is so devastating.
It is. And I just think, imagine having that much hate for yourself. Imagine having that much time on your hands as well.
Imagine having that much time.
So that's been really useful to have the therapist. And also I roller skate a bit, so I don't have to, I literally can't do anything else while I'm roller skating, so I'm not looking at my phone.
Carly, before we finish, what do you do on the days and what's your advice for the people that don't always feel fabulous? Yeah.
Well, I say that I wore this today and I felt fabulous as a political statement. I say it because people don't expect someone like me to feel that way. Because they're like, how can you look like that but feel fabulous? Like, it doesn't make sense. And well, I do.
Yeah.
I think it is about just putting on your favourite thing, your brightest clothes, or black if you want to wear black. And just, focusing on you, like not worrying what someone else might think. And it's not, some people say to me, oh, but you make me feel bad about the clothes that I wear. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Just wear what makes you feel happy.
Yeah, you are you and you are in charge of you.
Yeah, you do you. And, if you want to wear something from a thrift store or a department store, do that. It's fine. You don't have to wear the same things that I wear. But, it's just about being confident in who you are and not worrying about what other people think. On the days when you don't feel it, well, you can stay in bed and listen to Savage Garden and eat cheese like I do.
I love that. I think that is such a brilliant thing that we need to tell people. Sometimes you don't feel fabulous, and you know what? That is okay. You don't have to take on the world every single day. Sometimes you're allowed to lie under a big weighted blanket and cry, and that's fine. You're a human being. You're allowed to have shit days.
Absolutely. Yep, you can. And, you can have shit days and you don't even have to like yourself every day, right? You don't even have to be confident. It changes and self-love and acceptance and disability pride, it's work, and it's a bit of a roller coaster sometimes. But it's such a relief when you find it,
Yeah, 100%. And I think, honestly, out of this entire podcast, I think that last thing that you said is the most important. And I think people see people like yourself and they go, well, shit, why can't I be like that every day? And why can't I have her confidence? And why can't I have her boldness? Not realizing that there are days where you want to not face the world and that it's okay to not want to face the world. It's okay to not be a superhero every single day.
Absolutely. I sometimes go to restaurants, and one thing that I really hate is when the staff purposely face me away from people so that I won't scare away the diners, which is just,
my God.
you know, yeah, like, but also sometimes I choose to do that too. I choose to sit somewhere where I'm not going to be stared at.
Protect your peace. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Carly, this has been incredible. You are such a bold person. You are the definition of bold, and I love it. And I love you. I adore you.
Oh, thank you so much.
I would love to finish this podcast up by doing something that I call the Boldly Me 3, which is basically just 3 quick-fire questions about yourself. Ready?
Ready.
Sick. First one is, what is one song that never fails to make you feel happy?
It's a really sad song.
Love?
It's Darkness by Darren Hayes. It's a sad song.
Why does it make you feel happy?
Because there's a line in it that says, you discover that the monster you've been running from is the monster in you. And I feel that just speaks to shaking off or discovering the internalized ableism or whatever ism you have, whatever internalized phobia you have, and then working on that. And I reckon that album came out in like 2004, and that was probably around the time when I really started, you know, the self-acceptance stuff really started to kick in. And I think about that song a lot. Yeah.
I love that. That's such a cool answer. Number 2 is, what is one piece of advice that you would give your 13-year-old self?
Stop using that weird lemon bleach in your hair.
What did it do? Literally change it, like bleach your hair?
I think it was called like sunshine or sunsilk or something, and you spray it in your hair and it lightens your hair. It didn't. Oh my God. It probably just made my hair more fragile than it already was. And also, you don't need to shave your legs. You have no body hair. That's something else I would have told myself as well.
The positives of being disabled. Deal with the bullshit, get the good shit.
Yeah. No body hair. But I still thought I had to shave my legs because Dolly magazine told me I had to.
Oh my God, Dolly magazine. We all need free therapy. Any girl who had Dolly magazine, we deserve
in the 90s.
Free therapy. Yes. Yep. Oh my God. That like closed off section that you had to like rip open. That was, oh my God.
My mum found a copy of that when I was like 14, and she said, "Oh, you're never reading it again." I used to.
Oh my goodness. That's what you're doing under the covers, reading your Dolly magazines.
Yeah. Listening to Alanis, reading Dolly.
Obsessed. A universal experience. Okay, number 3. If you could be any Disney character, who would you be and why?
Oh, gosh, that's a hard question. I don't know. All of the ones that wear nice dresses. All of the ones the ones that wear nice dresses, I think. Yeah. Ooh, I just want to wear like a ball gown somewhere.
Oh my God, why are we not still doing that? Like, I want today's values. I want to still have rights, but also run down a hallway in a ball gown. Is that too much to ask?
Yeah, exactly. But also with no boning. I don't like boning in the ball gown.
Just like freedom ball gowns. Yeah. But I still want to run around. I still want to run away in a ball gown.
Yeah.
Carly, it has been such a joy speaking to you. Thank you so much for being on my podcast today.
It's been so fun.
That was so much fun. I felt like it was just 2 besties just having a little sit, having a little coffee at a cafe, and you guys all just happened to be watching through the window. I had so much fun on that podcast. Carly is such an incredible human. Guys, make sure you guys go and follow Carly on social media. It'll all be linked down in the show notes. Also, go and get her book, Say Hello. It is incredible. She's incredible. I love her. I love having such cool guests on this podcast. Thank you so much for listening to Boldly Me. If you liked what you heard, make sure to rate and review the show on your podcast app if it lets you, and let a friend know. Most importantly, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and do whatever makes you feel happy. Bye!